I have no idea what happens. It sounded like a casual remark, almost offhand, the kind of answer you might expect from someone joking their way through a press interview. But this time, it wasn't taken as a joke, because Sam Heughan wasn't talking about a side project, a cameo, or a future role. He was talking about the ending of Outlander, the very story he has carried for years. For a brief moment, the room didn't react. Then the clip hit social media. Within hours, that single sentence was everywhere. Fans replayed it, slowed it down, analyzed his tone, his expression, the way he paused before speaking. It didn't feel like sarcasm. It didn't feel rehearsed. If anything, it felt too honest, and that's exactly what made it unsettling. Because Sam Heughan isn't just part of Outlander. He is the core of it. After years of portraying Jamie Fraser, after embodying one of the most emotionally complex characters on television, the idea that he wouldn't know how the story ends didn't make sense. Not just to fans, but to anyone familiar with how productions of this scale typically operate. Lead actors are usually among the first to understand the direction of a final arc, especially when that ending defines the legacy of the entire series. Which is why this moment didn't just raise eyebrows, it raised questions. At first, some tried to dismiss it. Maybe he was avoiding spoilers. Maybe it was a strategic answer, a way to keep the mystery alive. But the more people watched the clip, the harder it became to ignore the hesitation in his voice. He didn't laugh it off. He didn't follow it with a teasing hint. He simply said it, and moved on. That silence afterward spoke volumes. Almost immediately, speculation began to build. Online discussions exploded with theories, each trying to explain how something like this could happen. Was the script unfinished? Were there last-minute changes behind the scenes? Or was this part of a much larger strategy to protect one of television's most anticipated endings? The deeper fans looked, the more unusual it seemed. Because this wasn't the first time Sam had sounded uncertain when talking about the finale. In previous interviews, he had hinted at not having the full picture, brushing it off as a normal part of the process. But taken in isolation, those comments never stood out. Now, with this statement resurfacing and gaining attention, they suddenly felt connected. As if there had always been something he wasn't saying. Then came another detail that only added to the mystery. In the same interview, when asked about how he felt emotionally approaching the ending, Sam gave an answer that felt disconnected from certainty. Instead of reflecting on a known conclusion, he spoke in broader terms, about journeys, about experiences, about letting go of something that had shaped his life. It was reflective, even moving, but it lacked one key element: clarity. And for fans who had invested years into this story, clarity was exactly what they were expecting. The conversation quickly shifted from curiosity to concern. Some began to wonder if the production itself was facing internal challenges. After all, long-running series often deal with evolving scripts, creative disagreements, and pressure to deliver an ending that satisfies a global audience. Could Outlander be going through something similar? Others weren't convinced it was that complicated. They argued that this could be intentional. That keeping even the lead actor in the dark might be a way to preserve authenticity, to ensure that reactions feel genuine when the final scenes are filmed. It's a technique that has been used before in high-profile productions, controversial, but effective. But if that was the case, why did it feel different this time? Why did Sam's answer sound less like controlled secrecy and more like genuine uncertainty? That question lingered. Because whether it was strategy or something else entirely, the result was the same: fans were left without answers. And in a world where information travels instantly, where every detail is dissected and every pause interpreted, that absence of clarity doesn't stay empty for long. It gets filled by theories, by speculation, by the kind of narrative that grows when there's just enough information to raise questions, but not enough to resolve them. And that's exactly where things stand now. A single sentence, delivered in a quiet moment, has opened the door to a much bigger conversation. Not just about how Outlander * will end, but about what might be happening behind the scenes as that ending takes shape. Because if Sam Heughan truly doesn't know what happens, then something about this final chapter is being kept far more tightly controlled than anyone expected. If Sam Heughan's admission felt like a crack in the surface, what followed made it impossible to ignore the depth of the uncertainty behind it. Because the more people examined his statement, the clearer it became that this wasn't just about one actor not knowing a detail, it was about a pattern that didn't quite fit the norm. In most major productions, especially for a long-running series like Outlander, the lead actor is not just informed about the ending, they often help shape it. Their understanding of the character's final journey is crucial to delivering a performance that feels complete, intentional, and emotionally grounded. And yet, here was Sam Heughan suggesting the opposite. That contradiction is what pushed the conversation further. Fans weren't just reacting anymore, they were questioning the structure behind the scenes. Was the script still evolving? Were multiple endings being considered? Or was there a deliberate effort to keep even the most central figure in the dark to prevent leaks and preserve the shock value of the finale? That last possibility quickly gained traction. Because in recent years, productions have gone to extreme lengths to protect major plot twists. Scripts are sometimes distributed in fragments, scenes are filmed without full context, and actors are given only what they need for each moment. It's a strategy designed to maintain secrecy in an era where even the smallest leak can spread globally within minutes. But even within that context, this situation still felt unusual. Because secrecy typically comes with a sense of control, and what fans were hearing in Sam's voice didn't sound controlled. It sounded uncertain. There was no hint of playfulness, no subtle wink to suggest he was holding something back on purpose. If anything, it felt like he was navigating a reality where the full picture simply hadn't been revealed to him yet. And that's where the idea of chaos began to take hold. Not necessarily chaos in the sense of things falling apart, but chaos in the creative process itself. The kind that happens when expectations are high, timelines are tight, and the pressure to deliver something unforgettable leads to constant revision. In that environment, endings can shift, evolve, and even change direction entirely, sometimes later than anyone would expect. An anonymous industry comment, circulating alongside the main clip, added to this perspective. It suggested that for high-stakes finales, it's not uncommon for key elements to remain fluid until the final stages of production. It's not always about secrecy, the comment explained. Sometimes it's about not knowing what works until the very end. That explanation resonated, but it didn't settle the conversation. Because if the ending was still being shaped, that raised a different kind of question. One that went beyond mystery and into uncertainty. Fans began to wonder whether the story they had followed for years was heading toward a conclusion that even its creators were still defining. At the same time, another theory continued to circulate. That this was all part of a carefully constructed narrative, a way to amplify anticipation by introducing doubt. By allowing the idea of uncertainty to exist publicly, the production could be building a level of intrigue that no official teaser or trailer could achieve. If even Sam Heughan didn't know what happens, then anything felt possible. It was a compelling idea. But again, something didn't quite align. Because if this were purely strategic, it would likely be supported by clearer signals, subtle hints, coordinated messaging, or at least a sense of consistency in how the uncertainty was presented. Instead, what fans were seeing felt fragmented, almost accidental, as if the narrative had slipped out rather than being intentionally released. And that ambiguity is what keeps the story alive. Not the confirmation of chaos, but the possibility of it. Not the certainty of a hidden plan, but the sense that something behind the scenes is more complex than it appears. It's that space, between what is known and what is suspected, that continues to drive discussion. In the end, there is still no definitive answer.